Hello everyone, welcome to HealthMeans. I'm Alicia Lynn Diaz and I am so grateful to be here. We've been having some technical difficulties, so Jennifer, if you are here, if you could just let me know and I'll see if I can add you. Jennifer, oh, there she is.
Alicia?
Did we do it?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yay! All right. Well, let's get this party started 45 minutes later. Facebook.
This was amazing. This is amazing. This is such a good experience to have leading into a conversation about accepting yourself and accepting your health and where you are. So I'm so excited because now I'm in the moment of all the stress and resistance.
Now we can really go into it.
Totally. So welcome, Alicia. Thank you for hanging in there. I hope that our audience, so we've got some loyal audience with us tonight, and I hope that they'll come and join us and click follow when you're here and enter your comments below, and we're listening to you, and I'll make that announcement a couple of times throughout the video. And for all of our viewers, this video is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the event page after the event is over. And you'll be able to watch it here and on healthmeans.com at any time. So welcome. I'm Jennifer Tavi from HealthMeans, and we are so excited, really excited to bring you the first in what will be an ongoing series called HealthMeans LiveChats, where we take some of our wonderful health experts from Health Talks Online and HealthMeans, and we bring them here to you live to answer your questions and your health concerns. And we will be diving deeper into the goldmine of information. We've got here with us today Alicia Diaz. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. Thank you.
And she's going to answer your questions about her talk, The 6 Stages of Disease and Healing, which is an interview, Alicia, that you did with Sayer G. And the link to that talk is on the HealthMeans event page for Alicia Diaz. That talk is free for anyone. Go ahead, go in there, click that link, bookmark it. It's a really, really wonderful 45-minute chat that Alicia is going to talk about tonight. And at the end of this event, we're going to give everyone who was here with us the transcript of that talk as well. That's a gift from Alicia. So thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And Alicia is the creator of the Enlightened Body System and the Soul of Healing Summit, where she talked with Sayer G. As a transformational leader, Alicia helps healers and holistic practitioners to thrive in their body, to eradicate emotional and physical pain, and to establish unshakable confidence in who they really are so that they can make a bigger difference in their lives and in the lives of others from a place of peace and vitality. That is a really wonderful bio, and you are tuning in from Maui. So I feel like you can say that you're in a place of peace and vitality.
Absolutely.
Which is great. I know that's your new move. Congratulations. And also for our viewers, yesterday was Alicia's birthday, so you can wish her happy birthday in the comments. So happy birthday. Okay, so let's welcome. Thank you for joining us, and let's dive in.
Great.
Okay, so in the talk that we are referring to with Sayer G, you outline, and this is a lot of your talk is outlining the 6 stages of disease manifestation, and you talk about your process in discovering that and your journey sort of within yourself and through traveling and meeting with other practitioners that got you there. Can you recap for us the 6 stages of disease manifestation?
Yeah, my pleasure. So quick recap. And again, like Jennifer shared, the full transcript of where I really dive into the full teaching around the 6 stages is available in the group, or you guys will post it. So just to give a quick recap right now, this system is based on the ancient Indian medical system that's over 5,000 years old. So what I'm sharing with you uses that as part of the lens and framework, juxtaposed on top of some of the deeper energetic and emotional healing work that I do with my clients to eradicate emotional trauma out of the nervous system and to support that level of the root cause repatterning. So the 6 stages, just to give a quick recap. Stage 1 is called the accumulation stage. So if we want to think of this as accumulation of toxins, really anything can be accumulating in the body. You have an energetic body, you have an emotional body, you have a spiritual body, you have a physical body. But the easiest way to illustrate these 6 stages, I'm going to use the gross physical body because that's just a little bit more tangible. So physiologically speaking, stage 1, we could look at as an accumulation of toxins. And why do toxins accumulate in the system? Well, the body isn't either digesting properly or the metabolic fire isn't firing properly. So it's not properly digesting, absorbing, and assimilating the nutrients that we put into our system. And so the byproduct ends up being, instead of a tissue, instead of a substance that can build healthy body tissue, it ends up being something that's a little bit different, which we call toxins. It's toxic to the system. So these toxins accumulate, or the body isn't properly eliminating toxins, or toxins are building up from the environment too fast for the body to process and get out. So stage 1 happens, accumulation. Once the toxins accumulate, you can imagine the bathroom toilet gets clogged, right? And it starts overflowing. So this is called stage 2, the provocation stage. So it essentially is where the toxins are now spilling over into the bloodstream because they're so backed up, they have nowhere to go. And then that brings us to stage 3, which is the spreading stage. So once the toxins overflow into the bloodstream, now they start spreading through the blood, and they're essentially looking for somewhere to deposit, which is stage 4, is the deposition stage. And where they're going to deposit depends on which is the weakest tissue, which depends on a number of factors. And we can go into that in a moment. But that's stage 4, the deposition stage. Stage 5, once those toxins deposit into one of the 7 bodily tissues, it creates a manifestation of a disease or illness. And typically in stage 5 and 6 is where you start to get a Western diagnosis. Western diagnostic instruments are sensitive enough to read stage 5 and 6, where it's manifestation. And then stage 6 is called differentiation, where you can imagine a good way to illustrate this would be cancer cells. So the cell actually differentiates into a different form than a healthy human cell. So those are the 6 stages at a quick glance overview.
That's great. Yeah, it's so interesting, and it's it's really something that Western medicine really doesn't start to pick this up. In a sense, our instruments are not sharp enough to pick up until that later stage manifestation. Thank you for that. And to our audience, we're gonna put that out on social media for you guys, all those different stages, so that you can have them for yourself after the talk. So my question that we got from a viewer earlier is, you said in your talk with Sayer G, you talked about stage 4, and you said a bunch of really interesting things about it. You said that it's the stage that is the location of the emotions and manifesting symptoms. And I was hoping that you could elaborate. I thought that was a really good question. What does that mean? What does that look like in relationship to disease?
Sure. So in stage 4, like I was mentioning, the toxins go through first 3 stages of accumulating, overflowing, and now spreading. And what happens is you have 7 primary bodily tissues. And imagine at the front of each of those tissues is like a gatekeeper. So there's a gatekeeper, which is your cellular intelligence. Your cellular intelligence is the gatekeeper at each one of those junctions. So say, for example, one of those 7 tissues is your muscle tissue. And those toxins are coming in. And if the gatekeeper isn't strong enough, for example, it gets overwhelmed with that toxin and it just bombards that tissue and it manifests in that tissue. And then the stage 4, 5, and 6 happen in the muscle tissue, or it can happen in the neurological tissue, and that then could create many different symptoms of, say, MS or something like that down the road.
Okay.
So the gatekeeper, there's a bunch of different things. There's a whole like outline or teaching that I can go into in terms of what would cause the gatekeeper to be really strong and resilient. And even if there are toxins in your body, it won't deposit or manifest as illness. Or what then causes the weakened state of the cellular intelligence or the gatekeeper, which then could create the scenario of chronic illness or some type of disease. Where the emotions comes into play then is one of the many reasons why the gatekeeper would be weakened. So the gatekeeper or the cellular intelligence gets very much depleted on a subtle energetic level by repressed emotion and by emotional trauma. And so one of the things that one of my master teachers that I studied with in India shared, that unprocessed or unresolved emotions crystallize into the tissues into disease. And that's kind of what we mean by that. So emotion is an energy in motion. And when we hold the emotion, if you imagine a garden hose free flowing with water, and there's a kink in the hose, there's a clog, and there's that water's not flowing freely. Well, you have 72,000 nadis, or like energetic meridians flowing through your body, the subtle energetic channels. And when they get constricted from repressing emotion, holding back your tears, holding back your anger, maybe you didn't have the availability to fully process the grief, the death of a loved one, to process what happened to you as a child from something traumatic that you saw, or something that just hurt you, that you wouldn't even categorize as traumatic, but that you didn't have the rational understanding or emotional intelligence or faculties to fully understand and make right inside of your own heart. That's actually registered on the energetic level of our being and of our nervous system as like a trauma of sorts, which then constricts those energy channels and prevents the free flow of energy. And anywhere that energy constricts, it causes stagnation, and stagnation can accumulate to illness. And it also creates a weakness of the cellular intelligence, the gatekeeper, which can then create deeper manifestation of the toxins crystallizing into physical ailments. Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in, and thinking of the role that plays in disease, because we're really, we're really not trained, I think, in Western medicine and conventional medicine to think about emotions really as having very much at all to do with disease and disease manifestation. In your, it takes me to one of the questions, and I was going to ask this later, but I think it really fits right now. I do think that the kind of soft version that we get of thinking about the role that emotions play in disease and thinking about the role that emotions play in healing is the sort of emotions light approach. And one of the questions that we got, I think, is so pertinent. They asked, how do you address people who think that emotional healing is just simply a question of mind over matter, or positive thinking, or like, think good things and it'll be good things, or, this sort of, that you have sort of, your thoughts have control in a way that doesn't sound like it really gets to the root when compared to what you're talking about. So how do you address things like that?
Beautiful question. So there is something to be said for the mind over matter, right? Like really thinking positive and seeing yourself in the vision of health and vitality that you wish to experience. And that's really important. And it's important to water what we want to grow. And when there's subtle emotional trauma, kind of influencing the subconscious mind and the nervous system, the more that we only do the positivity work, the more it creates a fragmented aspect of our psyche.
Sure. Yeah.
And the greater distance it creates between what we truly desire to experience and what we're actually, the reality of the discomfort that we're in. So what I would say to that is, yes, continue being positive and focused on what you desire to experience, but don't get caught in the bypass syndrome of that, emotional bypassing syndrome, which is only focusing on the positivity and not doing the inner shadow work. So it's called shadow work in some schools of thought, because they're things that sit in our blind spot. They're irrational, subconscious little pockets hidden from our awareness that are actually the things that are driving and influencing the health and vitality that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And in my opinion, the physical pain that comes up in our body is actually a reminder to look at that. So it's your body's trying to get your attention. It's like a little kid dragging on pulling on your pant leg, saying, I need something from you. Yeah. I need some care. I need some attention. I need some love. Yeah. And there's often a hidden catharsis that's actually just wanting to make room for the greater truth of who you really are to anchor in to your being, if that makes sense. And I can elaborate more on that, but it's just important, like, to answer your question specifically, it's just important to not bypass the stuff that comes up that's uncomfortable, because it's the resistance to that. It's the resistance to feeling whatever you've been avoiding feeling. Yeah. That actually manifests in physical symptoms for you to look at. Yeah. More so than the feeling of it. But we've never been taught how to feel. No. And we don't, and our society doesn't put, give accolades for emotional intelligence. Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That's such a deep answer. Gosh, we could talk about that for, we could do a whole thing on that. We could go all that. The shadow self and that bypass syndrome. And these are just such strong ideas. I want to take a moment to say hello to some of our viewers. Yay. Hi, Judy. Hi, Hannah. You can say hello to whomever you're seeing. Hi, Hannah. Yeah, Hannah's been in our programs. I can't see all the viewers from my screen. Okay. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome, everyone. And if you're just tuning in, this is Alicia Diaz, and I am Jennifer Taviv of HealthMeans.com. And this is HealthMeans Live Chats. We're going to bring this to you every week or 2 weeks, where we have a health expert expand a little more deeply on some of these really meaningful and impactful concepts that can make a difference in the lives of people dealing with chronic conditions or multifactorial or very serious illnesses. So thank you, Alicia, for being with us tonight. And you just mentioned something that you brought up in your talk with Sayer G, which everyone could go watch. There's links to it all over the HealthMeans page and all over Alicia Diaz's event page. You talked about it, and I loved this moment so much. You talked about how we have an understanding and an ability to acknowledge a lot of different types of genius, a lot of different types of success. So an intellectual genius, a musical genius, an artistic genius. These are ideas that exist. We all understand them. We know what that looks like or sounds like and how to evaluate success, but we don't have any sort of framework for what it means to be an emotional genius. And I love that. And I watch that and I'm thinking, well, you're right. I have no idea what that means. I don't know. What does it take to cultivate our own inner emotional genius? And what would be the definition of framework for that? And how can that add value to our healing and to our well-being? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of questions there. Yeah, I just threw in like 15. And this is also another one we could probably do a whole talk. Yeah. Just on this, but here's what I will say about that. Most of the healers and holistic practitioners that I've worked with over the years, they're actually empaths by nature.
Yeah.
And a lot of the clients as well. And it's just the reason I say healers and health practitioners, right? Healers are people who help heal others and who are in the process of healing themselves. And I find that most people are really driven by the desire to overcome some challenge inside of themselves and help other people with that.
Yeah.
So this is all inclusive, whether you're doing it as a profession or not. And there's a deep level of empathy for pain, empathy for the experience of suffering in the world. But what happens is that we have to we have to numb ourselves on some level because it's so painful. So there creates a fundamental split and disconnect where we feel separate from our aliveness, in protection from our own pain. But in rebridging that, right, but we can't have aliveness without acceptance and presence with the totality of our full human experience. And that's the full range of emotion. I usually equate it to a piano. In some ways, being a musical genius is like being a emotional genius, because you have imagine a full piano that's like multiple octaves, right? And you want to play a beautiful song, which is the masterpiece of your life, but you only have one octave that you're willing to play on. That's like our emotional experience. As human beings, we're literally wired for the full range of emotion, and there's no right, wrong, good, or bad. So like the experience of anger, the experience of rage, the experience of self-hatred, disgust, all of it is ingrained in every single human being. And it's the meaning that we make out of it and that our culture has made out of it, that it's wrong and bad and shameful, and we should feel terrible about ourselves if we ever have sadness, grief, rage, anger, shame. We shame ourselves for feeling shame, and then that represses it. So in my opinion, we can't feel free in life, in our health, return to our vitality without learning how to move the energies of the full range of our emotion through our nervous system without holding on to it, identifying with it, and clamping it down and being like, this is the thing that is so despicable about me and I have to hide it from everyone, even though I'm genuinely desiring to feel alive and connected to myself and others. So that's actually a huge key. And I've seen so many people's health turn around when they create a level of just self-acceptance for whatever is present in that current moment, or to give themselves permission to feel the grief of the loved one who passed on years ago that they never fully cried, or that kind of thing. People heal themselves from, I can't probably even go into that because it's, for me, it's just like, that's their own journey, right? But like, people heal themselves of debilitating, I healed myself from debilitating health things that I had no idea were connected to emotion and to repressed trauma. And this is why I'm on this path, is because I went to all the doctors and hit all the dead ends and was told I'd have to be on medications for the rest of my life. And I wasn't okay with that, because I didn't want to give that authority over the rest of my life. And I found those hidden shadows, and, emotional genius, or just emotional intelligence, right? The permission to feel and to not identify with those emotions as anything wrong with you. Full acceptance of your humanity. Yeah,
that's such a great, and I hear sort of that the forming of a pathway, and you said it's so specific to each person's journey and it's so unique, but I think we do often just start from a place of, I'm feeling and I don't really know what to do with that. Like, oh, I'm having feelings. I don't have any. Where do I put this? How do I get this like aside so I can focus on something else? And then going to that place, you said, that you can have feelings and you can have them and not identify with them. You don't have to become them. And then you did talk with Sayer in your talk, you said we don't have to end at self-love. We don't have to end up at a place of self-love. We can end up at a place of self-acceptance. That can be the place that we're going, and it can just be about acceptance. And I think a lot of people end up sort of wanting to force themselves to feel some emotion about their emotions, rather than just accepting, this is how I feel about this, and I don't follow a formula or textbook. So thank you. That's such a powerful idea.
And I also want to share, because I can almost feel like some part of the audience that would be like, okay, I get the feel my feelings thing, but how does that really translate into the physical thing I'm dealing with? And I just want to speak to that really quick, because it's super important. And when it comes to like chronic illness, especially, or the further manifestations, stage 5 and 6 of the disease process, it's often in such a deep blind spot, and it's so deeply buried that there's no awareness around it whatsoever. And the reason for that is because there's a protective mechanism around it. And I'm not suggesting that you should just go start being like just totally emotional every day, all the time, and that's going to heal you, right? There's actually a process of reprogramming the subconscious mind in such a way that it allows, and working with the nervous system, those two things, that it allows for the most afraid, fearful parts of ourselves that are protecting to feel safe enough. Because the safety is why it's repressed. We've never felt safe enough to feel what needs to be felt and released in order to heal the root cause of that physical disorder. And that is a journey and a process, and a very scientific process, actually, of creating the safety and the resiliency in the nervous system and the understanding within the intelligence of the cells to be able to easily and gracefully release that which you have no awareness of right now. So my invitation for anyone listening to this would just be to ask you, are you open and willing to consider that there are maybe some emotions that you're completely unaware of that are contributing to the physical pain that you're in? And just start to consider that. Even if you're just open to the possibility, it starts to help the energy move. And then I would really recommend getting professional guidance to actually go into the deeper layers to eradicate it.
And it's so wonderful. Where would they go for this? Like, what kind of practitioner do you identify as? Where would someone go to get this kind of guidance in concert with the regular medical care that they're receiving?
Yeah, there's I would say start with just shooting me an email or looking into the Enlightened Body System, because that's the context for the exact stages that we go through for the nervous system repatterning and the emotional healing. But in terms of like one-on-one work, I mean, there's a whole slew. I hesitate to start listing a whole bunch of modalities.
Sure.
Because I've seen a lot of individual modalities that deal with trauma healing work and nervous system work and things like that, that are missing the bigger picture context, and can sometimes, if done in the wrong order, can sometimes actually create more of a healing crisis for people. So I don't want to just rattle off a bunch of modalities, because especially with HealthMeans, with your focus here is to, provide the context and teachings and information. And I don't want to add to the noise or to the information overload of people to start researching a whole bunch of modalities. So and students that apply into the Enlightened Body System or into our healing programs and mentorship and things like that, we help screen specifically through their applications. If we're not the best fit, we'll give them a personalized recommendation so that they know who to go to and where to go for what they're dealing with, rather than me just rattling off a whole bunch of potential modalities. And then they're in the dark, shooting in the dark. Ooh, maybe I should start here. Where should I start? That kind of thing. So I will just offer that and extend that as a place to start.
That's great. Thank you. And for our viewers, we are going to have links to all the stuff that Alicia is talking about, and some links to some giveaways and the transcripts and all kinds of goodies at the end of this, along with this talk, on our page, HealthMeans, My Health Means at Facebook, and then also Alicia's page. So thank you. We're about 30 minutes in. I feel like we can talk for 4 more hours. I'm so down. Let's do it.
Well, I lead 3-day seminars, so I'm kind of
amazing.
It's always fun for me to try to pack it into a little bit of time.
Right. We could do it. Our first live chat will be 6 hours. Yeah. But in truth, it's deep, and it is, and it is in stark contrast to a culture of 7-minute doctor visits and, prescription pads and stuff like that. So it is deep, and we do want to allow for that opportunity and that conversation. And that's one of the reasons that we created this program. But we got this question that when I read it, I thought, well, everyone has this question. It was from one of the viewers of your talk. But I think it's really a universal question. I resonated with it on a personal level so much. And the question is, I'm going to read it to you. In the talk, you give a little bit of advice about the ways that patients can work with a variety of different practitioners. I have a really hard time getting my doctors to take me seriously. And I also feel intimidated by them when they tell me what to do. In your talk with Sayer G, you tell us to, quote, trust our inner guidance system. But how can we know that our inner guidance system is steering us right? Yeah.
This is such a beautiful question.
Yeah. Yeah. It really goes, I think, to the heart of self-doubt that a lot of people bring with them into those doctors' offices and into thinking about how to heal. So I would love to hear your answer to that.
Yeah. There's a few different angles that I'd like to share from. For one, I have a question for all of you listening, if this is part of what you internally struggle with as well. And that question is, who are you giving authority in your life to? Who are you giving your authority to? So in your life and in your health. So the way I see it is that every single one of us is the driver of our own life and our own health. And what happens when you're driving a car? You put into the GPS the destination you want to go to, and then you get the turns, right? The practitioners, the doctors, like all of the educators, they're all the signposts on your journey and should be treated as such. So you are collecting opinions and perspectives and information from everyone along your journey. And you are taking those opinions and perspectives and teachings and education into your own sovereign authority, but ultimately choosing where you want to go with it. So your job is not to convince your doctor of another perspective. Your doctor is doing the highest and best given all of the tools and frameworks that they've been given, right? A surgeon is taught how to cut. They're going to give you they have in their toolbox a scalpel, and they're going to say you need a surgery. An herbalist is going to say you need this herb. Like, understand the context of who the signposts and practitioners are, and they're going to give you their unique expertise, and then you take it all in, and it's up to you to choose what you're going to do with it. But the biggest thing that I see people getting stuck with is those opinions and those authorities injecting into their subconscious mind, creating doubts, because they've given their authority away. Yeah. And so the person with the most authority is going to continue to lead your path. And many practitioners have a tremendous amount of confidence and knowing. Yeah. And when we're feeling sick, we don't know what's going on. So we're looking for the person who knows. Yeah. Choose to be the person who knows best. Choose to be the one who knows your body the best. Those first 4 stages are the ones for you to just master and understand inside of your own being, because you will sense those things before any doctor can ever pick up on it, before any practitioner. You know your body better than anyone. And your main job is to continue choosing where you're going and to allow everyone else to be a signpost for you. Wow.
That's so radically different than I think the way that we're raised to think about it here in the United States. That I'm a little bit like, what are you talking about? Like, it's scary. It's confronting.
Yeah. And but ultimately everything in life around us is created for us to take our power back.
Yeah.
Because the power has been taken from us in every possible way in society. And that's not to revolt against the system. It's just to recreate yourself anew from your highest values and what you desire. Because it's your birthright to experience health and wholeness and thriving vitality. It's your natural state. It's everyone's birthright. And if anything is varying from that, it's trying to get you back to that, to remembering that.
Wow. It's really beautiful. Thank you. You asked our top reader questions. You answered our top reader questions. I did have kind of a bonus question if we had enough time, and I think we do have enough.
Sure.
Sure. And then we would love, I know I speak for Alicia in saying that we would love to hear from any audience, anybody who's watching this who has any specific questions about what we're talking about. I'm looking on my tiny little screen here. We've got a bunch of guests with us. So we would love to hear your questions. My question is, can you talk about this with Sayer G? And I brought it up a little bit before. You talk about radical self-acceptance. So I wanted to know, give us an example. What does that look like in your life or for one of your patients or something? Radical self-acceptance.
Yeah. It's a moment by moment practice. So I can share with you one of the meta stories of my own radical self-acceptance was back when I was born and raised in New York too, Jennifer. I don't know if I told you that. I was a clinical physiologist and professor in New York City, which is very, very different from the life of a holistic health educator in Hawaii. But I like being a bridge of worlds. But when I was out there years ago in the beginning of my career, I got really, really sick and had debilitating reproductive issues, headache, migraine stuff, digestive problems. I could eat 5 foods and I was still having symptoms, just tremendous pain. I was having panic attacks and anxiety. And I was racing triathlons, essentially just running away from all of it because I didn't know what else to do. But my body broke down to such a state that I could no longer hide from it. And I had to start looking at it. And essentially, this changed my whole path and trajectory to go down a holistic medicine route. But the way that the self-acceptance and the radical self-love or healing showed up for me was I had repressed sexual abuse and trauma from my childhood, from my whole childhood. I didn't remember anything that had happened to me.
Wow.
And until I went to India and started studying these deep wisdom teachings around health and to open my eyes to these healing miracles that I never thought possible from debilitating things that they were treating in India that we just never hear of in the West because we're just so told there are no cures or solutions for any of these things. And I was seeing them before my eyes, people walking out of this clinic completely transformed and healed. And it started opening myself to greater possibility. And then I started going into all the practices and teachings that I share on the Enlightened Body System and with my students, and got to experience complete dissolution of all of the chronic pain symptoms that I had dealt with, and deep, deep, deep resolve around all of the trauma that I had endured. And it was, for me, the path of ultimate liberation and freedom on all levels. And, you know, there's the way that I see self-acceptance and health and the healing journey, if you will, is kind of in these cyclical patterns. It's not a destination to be achieved. It's not a place to yearn for, although we do when we're on that path. But it's actually it's a ever evolving dynamic relationship that you have with yourself. So sometimes it looks like giving up your mind's agenda for what success looks like today. Be like, oh, I didn't get enough work done. I didn't hit my targets. I didn't this, that, and the other thing. And it's actually just being like, I'm home. I'm okay. I'm feeling whatever you need to feel, and accepting that in each moment I have a new choice to make. In each moment I can choose to water my fears and have those continue to manifest and grow. I can water what feels more true for me. I can water my love and my heart and my service. So that's a little bit of a longer answer than I had anticipated, but that's some of the ways that it shows up for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
I can give an even more practical, simple answer to that is like, I was a few months ago, had to get my wisdom tooth out, right? It's just like excruciating pain.
Yeah.
I had an infection in there, and it was just like super painful. And so like every part of me wanted to avoid going.
Yeah.
It's just like all the resistance. And then you like, I don't want to, right? So the way that acceptance looked for me in that moment was in actually just surrendering to the process and trusting the doctors and trusting the staff and trusting that my body knows how to heal itself. And as soon as I stopped resisting against the sensation of pain, and this is part of the Enlightened Body teachings, are how to rewire the pain and pleasure pathways that get crossed in the body. We're supposed to eat and experience pleasure. Instead, we have leaky gut, so we eat and we get pain.
Yeah.
Right? So it's actually, you have to retrain the nervous system how to derive pleasure from pleasurable things. And then there's actually the whole next level to that is deriving pleasure from painful things, and not, right? Like women have orgasmic births.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
But we're taught that that's the most painful experience.
Sure.
But there's actually ways to work with the nervous system. I had a transcendent experience at the dentist, at the oral surgeon, because I was like not going to take any of the pain meds, and I was like, I'm going to use this in a meditation and see how much I can surrender into the sensations of pain as sensation and not as something I'm trying to resist.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways acceptance can show up as well.
Yeah.
Which may sound radically weird to some people, but I felt called to share it anyway.
No,
it's possible.
Yeah, I don't think it sounds weird. I think it's very human. I'm sure our viewers and myself, we've experienced childbirth and we've experienced oral surgery. So they're not so far apart.
And I'm not a mom, so I'm not claiming to have that down, but I do have very close friends who have experienced orgasmic birth, and it's just like that's something that's possible for the human body.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are really told that it's not possible. And we are really told expect pain and brace for pain and kind of surrender to the very medicalized experience of that. So I think it's true, and it's really relevant for a lot of women. And you, in answering, you bring sort of a juxtaposition between radically accepting your own experience and then also trusting. And it's so interesting because you're doing I don't know if you saw that, but it's like the internal, how can I accept my own experience and my own memories and, you know, my own right to my life? And then also, how do I trust oral surgeons? Like you sort of said that in the same sentence, and it's like, wow, part of acceptance is learning how to trust other people, you know, that they know what they're doing, and that, you know, that they're not there to harm you necessarily. So I heard both those ideas in there. Really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Sure. True. Yeah. Thank you for saying it. So, Alicia, it's been so fun to talk to you. We're on hour 4 of our.
No, thank you.
I hope you will come back and be a guest on HealthMeans LiveChats again. And this video will go for all of our viewers. Alicia has a HealthMeans expert bio page that we'll post here, and you can view this and her talk with Sayer and her entire Soul of Healing Summit and any other summits that she's been a guest on that's in our system there. They're all great. One of the perks of my job is that I have to, but I get to watch all of them. So I really recommend that everyone go in there and just spend 4 days watching Alicia. It's totally worth it. And we will also post links to that. You were telling us about the program that you just did in 2018 that you want to give us.
Yeah, there's the 5-day Enlightened Body Health Challenge.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a really great, I'll walk you through in the course of short videos over 5 days to help you get clear on your vision for what you want to create this year, and start to show you the pieces of how to get there in a beautifully integrative way.
That's so cool. That's great. So
that link will be in there too.
Okay, great. And we'll also post the transcript to your talk with Sarah. So lots of goodies for all of our viewers and for everyone in the HealthMeans community and in Alicia's community. And Alicia, again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to all of our viewers and to our audience.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure.